Hi everyone, Abdel here. I'm super happy to have a very special guest. We're recording live from IO Connect 2026 in Berlin, and I'm here with Gus Martin.
Hi, how are you? I'm Gus. Nice to meet you all. Maybe a quick intro?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm Gus. I'm one of the product managers for the Gemma models. Gemma models are Google's open models, open family of models, and very happy to be here, answer questions.
All right, cool. So one open model guy and one infrastructure guy. Let's see how this goes.
Let's see how it goes.
Go. So my first question, Gus, is I mean, like one of the things that I think is a big probably topic that everybody's thinking about is the cost per tokens. Like it's getting out of hand, right? And when Gemma 4 was released, it actually went super high in LM arena in terms of the cost efficiency for the model itself. How do you think? I think two questions. How do you think we were able to achieve that? And where do you think this like cost per token and inference cost going forward in general?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question. Thank you very much. So I think one thing that the Gemma models are pretty good, they are not too verbose, right? They are among all open models on similar size, maybe even compared to larger ones. Our models are quite succinct. They give you the answer. Even when you enable thinking, it will think, but not go too far and be as succinct as possible. And that's pretty good because you're paying for all of these tokens if you're paying per token, right?
Mm-hmm.
How we did it, we when we think about the persona of the model, we of course care for the user and care that like we don't need to be verbose, we don't need to give those large answers with multiple emojis. We want just to be as correct as possible, as direct as possible, because that's how we want to collaborate with the model. And when we go to this agentic era where you have many tool calls, many things happening, it explodes, right? Number of tokens. So that's why one thing we had in mind since the inception of the model, and we were very happy that it kind of worked, right? You know the results only at the end.
Yeah.
So it worked. I think one thing that I think will happen is we are probably going to move to a world where hybrid solutions will kind of become the better ones, because imagine if I just open a Gemini app here and say, hi, how are you? This is a very trivial question. Why should I send this to a server to process on a TPU with many others requests? In a model locally could just say, yeah, hi, I'm fine, how can I help you? As easy as that, and any small model can do that. So if we move into a world where we have a small model that is like keeping the conversation, and then when you need, I need like to solve a tough problem, I send to Gemini and then we work on that, and then there's this back and forth. I think that's how we are going to probably move. Enterprise already doing something like that because that's cost effective, right?
So I do have a related question to this. So how do you, on the technical level, how would that work? Like how would you balance between like an on-device model, or maybe on the cloud between a cheap model and the expensive model based on the request? Is it like a proxy? Like how would that work?
So that already exists. It's not perfect yet, but the idea is that the same way that a mixture of experts architecture has a router, these solutions also have a router.
Okay.
Is a smaller model that the goal is how hard is this request, and then it can this is a hard one. Send there. This is a more code heavy. Maybe I have a code focus model. This is a more like looks like a SQL request. I have a SQL fine-tuned model that can help me.
Got it.
So this small model, the only goal is to understand natural language and figure out what kind of request and the difficulty. Is this easy to do? No, it's not. It's not all solved yet.
Yeah.
Even for us, internal experiments, we are still figuring out how to do it the best way possible, because even for a human, if you ask a question, if you have to put a score on how hard it is, it's hard, right? It's like, this seems easy, and then all of a sudden, no, this is a hard question, and then it starts to go through.
Yes.
So even for regular folks, it's not obvious. So it's still an area of research, but I think things will move there, because I don't think it's possible for 8 billion people to send a request of hi, how are you, good morning, good afternoon, thank you, all of this, and keep sending to a server that could be doing something more hard, right?
Got it.
So I think that's where we're going.
Got it. Okay, so my next question is about licensing. So, but before we get there, can you briefly just maybe explain to people who are listening to this the difference between open source and open weight models?
Yeah, of course. So when we released Gemma in 2024, we had an internal conversation with the open source folks from Google and discussing how would we frame what Gemma is, right? And back then the idea was like we cannot say it's open source because we are not giving you the full code to train the model from scratch, all of that, and for many reasons, right? Some software we cannot open source, some are like too much work for us. We have a small team, right? We cannot spend a lot of time on this and wouldn't be super helpful. But what we have is open weight, so anyone can download them and play with them. So that was the main decision. So it's not fully, when you say open source, you have access to everything. And that's not true for Gemma. We don't have access to the full training pipeline, for example. And probably we'll never share that because it's part of the secret sauce.
Yes.
So there's a lot of stuff on that. So we went with open weights. And then I imagine you're going to go and ask about our license. When we decide, okay, we are open weights, which license should we use? And back then we decided to create a Gemma license, which is pretty permissive. You can do create consumer apps. You can use for commercial use. Yes, thank you very much. You can use for commercial, but it's not a default license. So it's a custom license, and that has a inherent problem, which is if I go to a government or to a large company, their legal people will look into the license. Even if I tell them, no, it's pretty cool, they say, of course, I'm not going to trust you.
Yeah.
I have to evaluate. And this procurement process may take 18 months, like on a government.
Got it.
18 months is like 100 years in AI.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense. So when we saw this problem, and we want Gemma to be a sovereign solution, right, for governments, we said, let's try to move the license to something more default that people understand. So we moved to Apache 2.0. So Gemma 4 models onwards are Apache 2.0. You can download, play with it, fine tune, change whatever you want. We have like a terms of use, but the license is Apache 2.0, right?
Yeah.
So we don't incentivize use that are not super friendly. Let's say stuff that are aggressive, bad stuff. Like
Yeah, of course, yeah. So shifting gears a little bit, because this is a topic that I've been also seeing quite a lot, like the on-device inference versus cloud inference, right? So on-device means that basically whatever app runs the model on device needs to consume battery on that device.
Yes.
So how do you see, like how do you see people kind of balancing these two things, right? Like being able to do on-device without basically having the phone just run for like 2-3 hours and then die, right?
And of course, there's some use cases are pretty obvious to be on device. If you're doing like inference on an image and trying to extract information, a JSON from it, it can run easily. Are you going to process like a long thing on device? Probably not. We're not there yet. But then we get into a nomenclature issue, which is when you say on device, are we talking phones or are we talking a laptop? And so then we get there and like, a laptop I can process for 2 hours. There's no problem, right? So this is where it's hard to define exactly what's on device. For phones, for example, I don't think running something for more than a couple of seconds makes sense. You're not going to run a full agentic platform on the phone. I don't see that yet, for example.
Yeah.
On my machine, on my computer, I run a lot of stuff that's longer, like process, like coding, analyzing docs, stuff like that I do, and that makes sense. And the cool thing about Gemma models is that we have like 5 sizes, and you can run on phone. The Gemini Nano model that runs on Pixel, it's a Gemma model. You can run on your laptop if you have like, even as I saw a user with 8 gigabytes of GPU memory running the 12B model, and it was like, nice. This guy is working hard. And that's really pretty fun. That's part of the things we want to do. And we also have the 26 and 31B, which is you can run on a server, and enterprise already doing that because they're very strong for what they do, right? This morning, I was reading a post from someone doing. There's these models for cyber security, right? And there's one that's pretty popular. I'm not going to mention names of competitors, but there's super strong. So there is a test of how strong are the other models.
Okay.
And Gemma is one of the best ones, 31B, compared to all the large ones, the Chinese models, large ones, all of them. And I was like, okay, I didn't expect
Nice.
that, because we didn't train specifically for that, but it's pretty strong. I'm going to even share on social whenever I have some time, because it was pretty good report. There's analysis and everything. So the models are strong for all use case. And but answering your question, will we run long process of the phone? Probably not.
Okay.
Right?
And so on a scale or on a spectrum of people having to download the model or run their own inference stack on the phone, to the AI model or the LLM being part of the operating system like Android or iOS, where do you see us kind of where are we right now on this spectrum?
From Android side, we have the AI core library that runs on some of the devices. I don't think all of them for multiple reasons, but Pixel, some Samsung phones, where it's available to everyone. So the modules are downloaded.
So it's a service basically.
Yes, exactly. So you don't need to worry about the module to download anything. That's where we are. You can also use LiteRT, which is our library to run models on device on any other phone that doesn't have AI core. And of course, you can run Gemma 2B and the 4B there. They have also an app for library to run that on desktop, on Mac. So we have solutions for that. It works on iOS, same library. LiteRT works on iOS. The challenge there is if you create an app, you have to embed the model or download it to the phone, which is not optimal. But I think as of now it's still valid. From there, we have solutions to run on laptop that's very easy. It's like you install an app in, for example, LLM Studio, and from the app you download the model. Right? Choose any model.
Yeah, or Llama or whatever on laptop.
Llama, that's easy. And then you can go to a server where you can run even Llama CPP, VLLM, SGLang, all of those also. So we have the whole spectrum of libraries. I think from being Google for many years, we try to have one solution to everything. That's definitely not the case anymore. There's many solutions and many variations. So I think we're in a world that's a little bit more complex, but still with great tools to help.
Yeah, I mean, I think the ecosystem is still probably fragmented a little bit, and
Yes.
we're gonna get there to a point where it becomes kind of standard or easier, right?
Remember when we had these apps that we have, like I don't know, MySQL for the database, and then you have like I don't know, PHP for the application. That's they had what's in
LAMP stack.
Yes. So we are moving towards having that for AI serving in infrastructure. Right?
Yeah. I think I have seen recently. I don't remember the exact acronym, but I have seen recently like somehow a standard stack for like machine learning or AI, agentic AI, which has like PyTorch and VLM and like a bunch of.
We're moving there. We'll get there, right? Because it's still pretty new if you think about it.
So, speaking on that particular topic, I personally work on the kind of the intersection of cloud native and LLMs, right? So running on Kubernetes, running on GKE, running on all of these platforms. So production grade, if you want, quotes unquote. And I think there's still one of the biggest problems that a lot of people have facing, at least the conversation I'm having with people, is like, how can we benchmark running our own models on our own hardware that we buy versus running on cloud with like a cost per token kind of model. So where do you see us getting to a point where it would be kind of easier to make this choice? You see what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. I think that's still hard to make that the math there. If you want to, but the challenge is it goes beyond the token and the cost. It's like ownership and customization, right?
Yeah.
When we go for open models, more this is what the main thing are, because when you serve a model per token, the work that is done to make that token cost lower, very hard for anyone to replicate. Very hard. Because the work done there, for example, I know Gemini, for example, the work that the team does to make it as efficient as possible, so that it's fast and the cost per token is something that's not like a too low or too high, something that pays for the cost. That's a lot of work, and everyone does that. For an enterprise to do it by itself, it will be tricky. What we know is that serving, if you own like already GPUs, it's there, right? You can just use them. You can just use them. It's there, right? And if you're paying for them, that's your cost. So that you can maybe replace a variable cost of tokens by something like, no, I paid for this GPU and this VM. I know how much it costs per month. That's the cost of my AI. And then I have to put all the modules there, make sure they're serving as well as possible. So you have a fixed cost. And that's maybe easier for some to argue internally how to deploy stuff. So that's where we are now. I still think that there's no way to escape the cost per token because the frontier models are cost per token, right?
Yeah.
Gemini's per token. You might need them always for some tasks, but maybe you can put some other. If you have to go over your database, BigQuery analysis, extract a JSON with I don't know, addresses and names. Any Gemma model can do that.
Okay, yeah.
So you just run the task on a low-end GPU for like 10 hours and you extract everything done.
Yeah.
So do you need to call a frontier mod for that? Probably not.
Yeah. So that's basically back to the initial discussion, which is we will get to a point where it will be easier to have an intelligent router that can route based on the request, right? But you mentioned customization. When you mentioned that, I thought immediately of fine-tuning. Where is that a hype, or is it like a thing that we're gonna do?
That's a good question. I think since the beginning of these open LLMs, right, fine-tuning has had ups and downs because the models just became too strong.
Mm-hmm.
So we are in a position, for example, this year our 2B model, the smallest one, is on par with our 27B from last year. And that's a 10x improvement. And this 2B runs on that phone, right? Or my phone. And this is insane, right?
Yeah.
And then like, if last year I needed to fine-tune my 2B for whatever task it is, this year I might not need that anymore. We had lots of people fine-tuning Gemma for specific languages. In some cases, it's very hard to beat what we have already, which is good for a lot of people, but you lose like kind of part of a use case.
Yeah.
That being said, the model still can learn new capabilities. There's still always new things. There's still proprietary data from enterprise that we don't have access. So, for example, if your company does some specific things in industry, you can fine-tune the model to have that as part of its knowledge and help it answer questions better. Or if you want, for example,
That's okay.
And if you want, for example, to customize how the model responds, like the voice, instead of giving a gigantic preamble of this is how you should behave in this company or something, you fine-tune the model to behave like that already. So there are some use cases or formatting, or I saw someone that fine-tuned the model to be a better reactive native code assistant, because they only do that. And I think it's some folks from Vercel, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not going to quote them just to make sure I'm not saying, but there is a React Native Gemma variant that can do reactive coding assistant. So that's another use case. But it's tricky because the mods are becoming really, really good. And which makes like, why do I fine tune? It's hard, right? It's good because you don't need to spend a lot of resource in maintaining that. But when you need it, it's because you need more expertise.
Yeah, and I think that going forward, we're gonna get probably to a point where the improvements from one generation of models to another will just stagnate over time, and it will become probably easier to just like fine tune instead of wait for the next one, right?
Maybe. One thing that I really, I don't know if next year we can do the 10x again for our small model to be the same level as the 31. Our 31B this year is very strong. If the next year the small one can do that, will be close to insane. But our researchers are pretty strong, so let's see.
All right. So to close this, I have a couple of questions. I call that the tech dilemma. So I'm gonna give you the choice between two options, and you have to choose one.
Okay.
And you have three questions. So question number one: would you rather vibe code a production enterprise app or maintain an application that you cannot patch?
I'll go with the maintain, the one that cannot patch, because enterprise code is not something that you can just let me vibe code it, because there's a lot of, I know enterprise code is way more complex than just like my to-do demo that I can do, and that we can help code assistant, but there's a lot of constraints and things that cannot go wrong. So
okay,
I will go
the last person I asked this question to, the answer was like, I would rather retire than maintain and patched applications. Yeah. Okay, question number two. Would you have an LLM that is highly confident but 100% hallucinating? or have an LLM that has a 1 token per minute output, which is extremely slow?
I'm talking per minute, right?
Okay, you
will
rather wait.
Wait than something wrong, right?
Okay. Then the last question: would you rather compile your code on an old mobile phone chip, or manually code CUDA drivers?
So the fun fact, we are doing the CUDA drivers thing.
Okay.
So I'll stay with that because we're optimizing Gemma to be even faster. So I think we're doing the second option already. So
okay. Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Gus. This was great.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I hope people like this and it was helpful.
Thank you.